What's good, everybody? It's your boy JCG. Welcome back to the lounge. So the hype for fighting games right now is bigger than it has ever been in a long while. I believe we are starting to see a renaissance in the genre. We got upcoming games like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, the League of Legends fighter Project L from Riot Games, and the semi-confirmed Mortal Kombat 12. We also got ongoing games like KOF 15, DNF Duel, and Guilty Gear Strive. This is a great time to be a fighting game fan. However, there's something that needs to be addressed. As the genre grows, so does the community. And as the community starts to get bigger, we have more people wanting to get into fighting games, but the barrier to entry may seem too high for most. That's where the developers come in and try to make it easier for newcomers. How do they do this? Well, there's many methods of doing this, but one method that we've seen in recent years is the addition of simple or stylish controls, auto combos, easy combos, whatever you want to call them. This has definitely sparked controversy within the FGC. Some are for it, others are strongly against it, and others don't care either way. What's my take on it? That is what I'm going to discuss today. Fighting games are fun. They also can be tricky and not easy to get into. Usually there will be a tutorial or training mode that will show new players what to do. Unless you're Tekken 7, and you don't have a proper tutorial for newbies. Developers have tried to implement some practice modes in fighting games before. But in the past there were a few fighters that actually went deeper and gave players tutorials that explained the ins and outs of how they played. The thing about fighting games is that some come with a lot of baggage. Legacy fighters, like I mentioned Tekken and even Street Fighter, weren't exactly beginner friendly, and some newer games mostly catered to the core fanbase that heavily preferred the OG input and motion controls for titles. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. However, this essentially made the entryway into fighting games trickier. Personally, I don't have a problem with the old style. Although, when I'm playing games like Tekken 6 or 7, and Street Fighter 3rd Strike and even Street Fighter 5, I don't always have the best of time trying the combo trials and getting the hang of the overly long button inputs. Especially in the case of Tekken 7, where the combo lists for each character are super long and they're showcased in the traditional arcade stick style. It can feel hard to have fun in the game when you can't get a grasp of things like basic movement, what buttons do what, and how to link attacks together. I don't have a Twitter account, but I looked on the website on my laptop and I saw Junya, aka Anime Illuminati, shout out to him. He says similar things about fighting games. They're not easy to get into because they're unforgiving for newcomers, there's a huge gap between casuals and longtime pro players, and as I already stated, the games themselves don't properly teach people how to play. I know I'm in the minority here, but I think having simple controls in fighting games are a good way to bring in new players to the FGC, because now they can play a game casually without feeling as if they can't have fun with it. Simple controls, to me, allows players, whether they are new or old, to enjoy the game without all the extra baggage. It especially helps beginners because they don't have to memorize and spend hours upon hours learning complicated combo strings. I want to take a look at the new control styles for both Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8. I think both Capcom and Bandai Namco have found a perfect way to make their new games simple without sacrificing the original style for older competitive players. For Street Fighter 6, they have 3 different control styles. Classic controls is for the folks who are already familiar with fighting games, in Street Fighter in particular, and modern and dynamic controls are for the casuals, or people who never picked up a fighting game before. The modern control set I love because it isn't really like a button masher type. What the modern control type does is that it has certain attacks tied to specific buttons. You see, with classic control type, you had 2 buttons on the D-pad that were for light or medium punches, 2 for light or medium kicks, 1 for a heavy punch, 1 for a heavy kick. Then in order to do a throw, you had to press 2 buttons together. And with special moves, it required certain directional inputs and perfectly timed button presses with those inputs. With modern controls, there are no buttons for specific punches and kicks. There is simply a light attack button, a medium attack button, and a heavy attack button. Then you have buttons solely dedicated to throwing and special attacks. As an added bonus, if you press right trigger, along with repeatedly pressing one of the 3 attack buttons, you can do an assisted combo right there. That to me is perfect. There's still a tiny bit of depth to the system, and it doesn't feel like it's holding your hand. Something that I can't say the same for the dynamic control setting. The dynamic setting is what I like to call baby's first fighting game. It's specifically designed for players who have little to zero experience with the genre. All you gotta do is mash one singular button and your character will automatically do a combo or special move based on what position they're in. Now, I'm not against one button combos, but this mode to me I'm not gonna be using because it just seems like the game is playing for you rather you playing it. Tekken 8 has something a little similar. In this game they have the regular control style for experienced players, and for casuals they implemented special style, which is an evolved version of the assist features from Tekken 7. The special style has a recommended move and combo tied to each button for the characters, and much like SF6, it doesn't require the player to memorize commands in advance. You can still practice them if you want, but the whole idea is that the game is easier in terms of execution. This is what sparked my interest in Tekken 8, because now I can feel as if I can actually have some fun in a Tekken game. Of course, these changes do come with some pushback. Some folks who are longtime FGC experts think that the whole point of the complicated format of fighting games is what makes them fun because it's about striving to be better. The difficult nature of games like Tekken are what make the game fun, because the amount of work that has to be put in to get good, as some will say, is worth it. So they essentially think that the auto combos and simple controls are a waste of time and should never be added. Here's my take though. Why can't we have both? I think the issue I see with this whole debate about simple controls is that both sides of the aisle, the casuals and the pro players, are forgetting the one core aspect about these features in games. You guys, the auto combos, simple control systems are optional. The systems weren't made to replace the old playstyle. The classic modes are still there. The stylish modern control settings are just an option in a lot of fighting games. They always have been, if we're being honest. This isn't a new thing in the genre. It's been around for years. If y'all remember, Arc System Works were the first ones to implement these playstyles. Games like the BlazBlue series have always had stylish modes that allow players to do auto combos and perform specials easier. That same method was used for Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2, as well as Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, made by Capcom. Even they put in a stylish mode in the game for casuals. Also, other fighting games like DNF Duel, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and the upcoming Project L are also utilizing easy-to-learn control systems. But those games, at least for the case of DNF and Power Rangers, still have depth to them even with their simple control settings, without feeling too hard or frustrating to get a handle of. There's no right or wrong way to play fighting games, my friends. It all depends on how you prefer to have fun. At the end of the day, people, this was just something that's been on my mind for a while. I think that the concept of simplifying fighting games has gotten a bit of a bad rap lately. Do I think developers should throw away and sacrifice everything that made their older games good and fun just for the sake of accessibility? No, of course not. That's how you get the older audience who stood by your side from the very beginning to walk away. But I do think that fighting games need to start evolving and finding ways to make these games feel more welcoming to newcomers so that the barrier to entry isn't as high like it was before. That's my belief. I also believe that the hardcore FGC individuals need to calm down and understand that, as I mentioned, these systems are for the most part optional, and the existence of a modern control type does not take away the original experience. In conclusion, fighting game developers need to focus on one specific priority. How can we make our games fun and exciting for everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you being patient while I was getting this video made. Tell me your thoughts on this topic in the comments below. Do you like simple controls or fighting games? I'm open to hearing other people's opinions about this. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe to join the lounge, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. God bless. I'm out. Deuces.